Welcome to week 14. This is the final content week of the course, and we're going to talk about the drama, the fall of the Roman Empire. After surviving all these years and all these challenges as we've covered over the second half of this course, why does it fall at this point? Why does the Roman Empire finally run out of energy, and what replaces it? In 305, Diocletian abdicated. This, by many, is considered his greatest achievement. After a period where basically an emperor was killed every other year on average, he had ruled in this chaos for 20 years. He had brought stability to the empire, and then he was able to walk away peacefully. But now his tetrarchy system of government would be put to the test. And so you have the system of the two senior emperors, the Augustus, who are both called Augustus, and the two junior emperors, who are both called Caesar. Um, and no one really is quite sure how it's supposed to work except for Diocletian. But Diocletian is determined to make this work. So he forces Maximian, who's the other senior emperor, to retire at the same time as him. He promotes both of the Caesars, Galerius and Constantius. So they now both become Augustus. Galerius is Augustus of the east, and Constantius is Augustus of the west. However, Diocletian refuses to promote adult sons of Galerius and Constantius to become Caesars. Instead, he picks two new Caesars, Severus and Maximin. Now, the reason that he did this was to prevent the power of dynasties. But some would say that this is a blunder, that you are going to have these sons who are out there, who are dissatisfied. The Roman army, for whatever reason, consistently is going to support dynastic succession. And so the major figure in this drama, who is Constantine, now emerges. And Constantine is being held as hostage in the eastern capital of Nicomedia. And so this is to make sure that Constantius follows Diocletian's instructions and then follows Galerius' instructions. However, Constantine hears that his father is dying, and he recognizes that if he is there at the death, he has this one chance to become emperor. If Constantius dies and he is not there, there's also a chance that he'll be killed. He's now just a loose end, not a very valuable hostage. So the story is that he challenges Galerius to a drinking contest, wins the drinking contest, gets Galerius, who's really drunk, to sign a paper giving him safe passage out of the city, and then he leaves and books it and rides as fast as he can all the way across the Roman Empire, hamstringing the horses that he leaves behind, changing at every inn where there are fresh horses, hamstringing those he doesn't take, arrives in Britain in time to be with his dying father. When his father dies, troops proclaim Constantine as Augustus of the West. And Constantine sends Galerius notice. It's kind of funny. He sends Galerius a picture of himself dressed in the imperial robes of an Augustus. And Galerius was furious and almost burned the picture. Galerius still wants to avert all-out war, and so he sends back. He permits Constantine to be Caesar. He says we have to promote the other Caesar, but your father has died. Now there's an opening, and so you can become the Caesar. And so Constantine accepts this. But there's another loose string in the picture now, and that's the son of Maximian, who was Diocletian's counterpart, who was the other Augustus, and this is Maxentius, and he says, well, if Constantine can get away with this, why can't I make myself an emperor? And so he and his father rebel, and they successfully capture the West. And Constantine is going to take this opportunity to start making war against Maximian and Maxentius. And from now on, he is no longer going to emphasize his connections with the Tetrarchy, but instead he emphasizes a connection to the Pax Romana and the emperors before the 3rd century crisis. He's setting himself up and promoting himself as the successor and restorer of the empire. And so it's really important when Constantine starts advancing on the city of Rome that was held by Maxentius. As long as Maxentius holds Rome, it's hard for Constantine to claim that he's the restorer of the Roman Empire of old. And Maxentius plans simply to wait it out behind the fortifications of the city. And he's receiving grain from Africa. He's protected by the walls that have been built by Aurelian. And the crowd is jeering at him and telling him that Constantine is better than him, and he refuses to budge, refuses to risk fighting a battle, until he consults the soothsayers, and they tell him that if he goes out and fights, the enemy of the Romans would be defeated. At least this is the account. And you always wonder how these people could be so naive. And so, of course, the punchline of the story is that the enemy of the Romans is Maxentius. He's defeated by Constantine at the Battle of Milvian Bridge. This is a hugely significant battle, because it means that Constantine is able to take control of the whole western half of the empire, and because Constantine claims that he had received a vision the night before the battle and instructed him to paint the symbol of the Christians on his soldiers' shields, and that this was part of why he had won the victory. In 324, he defeats Licinius, who was the remaining emperor in the east, and Constantine becomes the sole ruler of the empire. And he is able to rule alone as the only emperor because Diocletian had so improved the government infrastructure, increased the dignity and office of the emperor, that this was now possible. And so the empire has been reunited under Constantine's rule. This point in our story leads us to a discussion of Constantine's relationship with Christianity. Even before Constantine's conversion, his father was the only one of the four emperors who wasn't actively persecuting the Christians. If you go up and say, I'm a Christian and I hate the Roman gods, you're probably going to get in trouble. But there's not the same all-out persecution and effort to totally suppress the Christian church that we find under Diocletian and under Galerius. And this is probably because of the influence of Constantine's mother, Helena, who was a Christian. Now that he's secure and unchallenged in the west after the Battle of the Milvian Bridge, Constantine issues the Edict of Milan in 313. Some people say this made Christianity the official religion of the empire. This is not true. It made Christianity legal, which is still a huge step for Christians. And Constantine himself was not a Christian. But when he went to Rome after his victory, he did not offer the traditional pagan sacrifices on the Capitoline Hill. And he exempted Christian clergy from taxation. He made Sundays the market day within the empire so that the Christians were free to worship. And so over the course of the time that he's in Rome, Constantine rejects traditional Roman paganism. He closes many pagan temples, and this provides him with a ton of gold that enables him to issue new coins and complete Diocletian's refinancing of the empire. So you'll see this a lot. The relationship between Constantine and Diocletian is really interesting. Diocletian provides the foundation. He's the pragmatic guy who rebuilds the political stability of the empire, and Constantine is more like the imagination. He's the ideas man. He's willing to break molds by closing these temples, by legalizing Christianity. He's willing to take the more flashy steps that are necessary to complete the rebuilding of the empire. And Constantine, because he's an ideas man, because he's willing to break boundaries and change things, he had found Rome frustrating. The ancient elites showed no interest in supporting him or supporting Christianity. And you can see if you look at a map of Rome and the major early Roman churches, they were all built on the outskirts of the city. So Constantine is unable to make Christianity a central part of the life of Rome. The Roman elites control the center of the city, control this location, and they're sticking with their pagan religions. Constantine could also see that Rome remained weak and vulnerable to attack. And so he follows Diocletian's example. Again, Diocletian is the ideas man. Diocletian had moved the capital of the empire to the east. Constantine is going to do this, but he has the imagination to build a totally new city. Constantine, a proven successful general, has remembered the location of the city of Byzantium on the Black Sea. That was perfectly defensible, surrounded by the Black Sea and the Bosporus, but with easy access to Anatolia and easy access to Central and Eastern Europe. So these new heartlands of the empire, some of the more stable and successful provinces. And here he's going to build a new Rome, a capital for his empire that he calls Constantinople after himself. Again, there's this much more ego with Constantine than there is with Diocletian, and sometimes that helps him, sometimes it hurts him. It marks the culmination of the shift of Roman power from the west to the east. Constantine wants to emphasize that it is totally replacing Rome. He gives it a new senate, even though the senate's power is just that of a city council. He gives it a new hippodrome. He includes an ancient wooden statue of Athena that was said to have been brought to Rome from Troy by Aeneas. And so Constantine is making the argument that the Trojans, who had fled from the Trojan War, had founded the city of Troy, had founded the city of Rome, but that Constantinople is a continuation of that legacy, now removed back, of course, much closer to the original site of Troy. And Constantine also endows the city with many churches, emphasizing that this was in many ways a new empire that was going to be oriented around the practice of Christianity. And in building Constantinople as the capital of the East, establishing Christianity as a unifying religion, along with his economic reforms, Constantine is applying the necessary finishing touches to Diocletian's reform. He's connecting himself with Romulus, who founded a new city, Aeneas, who came from Troy, and with Augustus, who transformed the Republic.